Well, hello. This is Dr. Don Lynch and having some coffee here, enjoying my isolation in the season of reset and overcoming that is upon us, doing so with joy. You know, we have a tendency to exaggerate the metaphors, and therefore we miss the point very often. For example, the metaphor of sheep and shepherds has been extremely exaggerated because metaphors are similes. Metaphors are used to reveal some specifics of the aspects of spiritual reality by the use of simile, or saying in the same way, or this is like. And so with sheep, we have a behavior. Obviously, that's metaphoric. We are not sheep. We don't have wool. We're humans. So Jesus, Peter, Paul, others use the metaphor because the metaphor is common. And the common aspects, however, the metaphor, they don't walk on all fours. In other words, they're not a universal principle. They merely point to specific aspects of the behaviors of people, which can be a whole nation or it can be an individual, and then point to the leadership responses that are appropriate. Now, it is not true that every person in the kingdom is a sheep. Therefore, we have 5 aspects of leadership, and only one of them is a response to sheep behavior. Sheep need protection and provision. They can't feed themselves or even get a drink of water without help. And they're very vulnerable to wolves. So sheep behavior describes people who are simple-minded and never develop past the point of needing someone to provide for them and to protect them, and immature people. In other words, sheep is the behavior of people you don't send to war. Now, right now, there is a great deal of shepherding comfort, and so we have people who are part of the kingdom, born of the Spirit, but they're so immature or they're so simple-minded that we would not ask them to charge into the valley of the giant or join us in the battle. They learn some very infantile aspects of spiritual warfare, of course, but they need the kind of leadership that says, I build a wall, get in here, and huddle, lie down and relax. So we should have that aspect, that voice, that provision of the kind of silent string elevator music. I'm feeling so peaceful. That's beautiful. We need that. I'm not making fun of it, nor am I criticizing the fact that we have sheep, because we always will have people who have sheep behaviors. Now, in this video, I'm not going to talk about the fact that we should not have 99% of the modern American church acting like sheep. I'm not going to talk about that. But I am going to talk about the fact that we are not engaging sheep in this battle. So let's just stop with worrying about turning sheep into soldiers, because that's not going to happen right now. Let me just say it this way. We don't need everybody. Gideon didn't. Jesus didn't. You see, God never starts with everybody. He wants everybody. I'm certain God's not happy that we have turned some people who should be warriors into sheep. And I'm certain that our pastoral theology book, which chapter 1, how to make people comfortable. Chapter 2, how to make people comfortable, continued. Chapter 3, how to increase the comfort level for people. And I'm certain he's not happy with our strategy in modern American church growthism. And I know that we have big sheepfolds because we have a whole bunch of people who right now they need comfort. And they're responding to the fear that is being presented. The howling of the wolves has them very uncomfortable. So let's stop with the criticism of that. We'll deal with that after we win this war. And you better be certain that's going to happen. However, right now, that's not what we need. What we need to do right now is discover the Davids. And quite frankly, we don't want to send the sheep into war, and we don't want sheep, the face of the church at this moment, to be the sheep. Scared, uncertain, rolling their eyes with fear. What we need right now are some Davidic-like people who have already risked their lives to save someone else's sheep, who have already operated on principle. The principle being, ain't no bear going to kill any lambs. Ain't any lions going to invade my valley. And so I'm looking for the people out there who've already quarantined your lives of bear and lion, who are now ready to deal with this blasphemous, uncircumcised expression of hell called China virus. And the accompanying work of Leviathan and Jezebel, and the spiritual syndromes that are produced by rulers, authorities, and cosmic dominators, to which and for which Paul says we now wrestle. So it's time for us to find the people God has prepared, who have prepared themselves, who have made the decisions that make them the kind of people that when they show up and they hear Goliath say, let me at him. I was born for this. If that's you, I'm talking to you. If you're a sheep, please go lie back down and wait for the next Jesus Culture hymn or Amazing Grace sung, or some more Bill Gaither videos, or whatever it is that calms your soul, and the steady voice. And I love all those things myself. But right now, I'm not going to earbud myself to a comfort song. I'm getting ready to listen to a screaming eagle kind of guttural, let me at 'em. I need to get some blood on my hands, because it's time for a fuss with hell. That's what I'm going to be listening to. But if you're a sheep, go lie down and relax, okay? Beautiful Out of Somewhere, is really a nice, background music, some kind of strings, and think about, Brooks singing you a song as the water, moves over the rocks, and the beautiful sounds of the birds tweeting in the morning. Okay, go for it. You're a sheep. Not talking to you. And if your job is to comfort sheep, get at it and do a good job. We don't need any more fear. We don't need terror. We don't need panic. And we don't need vulnerability. But if you're a warrior, take your earbuds out and start screaming. And sharpen your sword and get your spear ready and your shield, and do some stretching exercises and get ready, because we're going to run into the valley and we're going to take the head of this blasphemous, uncircumcised virus. It's time for battle. We war and we win. We have, of course, invested a great deal of our emotional energy in the wrong things and distractions. And we need to understand who the enemy is. We don't fight flesh and blood, but we do fight the demonstrations and manifestations of Satan in our culture by the influence of the kingdom. So we should be involved politically, and we should be voicing God's messaging and God's perspective and point of view. We preach what God is thinking because we represent God. So we shouldn't be silent. And our voice should be heard politically and in social media. That's for certain. However, we need to shut down the garbage dump of doctrinal idolatry that's been manifested. And we need to get over this psychosis of comic book conspiracies. And we need to get past the idea that moral victories are what we have been called to produce. We are here to wrestle with rulers, authorities, cosmic dominators, smell the breath of hell, and gain the leveraged advantage that comes in wrestling. Because we are overcomers, we displace hell, move them off, and hell's position is now reversed. We push back, push out, and we step into the place that was once occupied by God's enemies. And at that point, as a corporate kingdom culture ecclesia, we form a brand new beachhead from which to further advance and take advantage. This is not a moment to cower, it's a moment to combat. God's purposes are before us and his outcomes are ahead of us. God is not sitting here wringing his hands. He's looking for somebody to represent the outcomes that he intends to produce when this work of hell has been revealed and exposed fully. We are going to have some targets on the back of demonic beings, targets on the manifestations and demonstrations of the prince of the power of the air. And we're going to understand our job is not flesh and blood, but that's not where we war. But our job is to wrestle. We represent God. And that's who we are. We're not going to send the sheep into battle, so let's leave that alone. You know, the church got way too many sheep. You know, we can talk about that later. Right now, warriors, don't be piling up victims of friendly fire. Now's not the time to decide whether Rodney should have held services. Now's not the time to decide, you know, if you know, this is God's judgment, or, you know, so we all sit back and let God kill a bunch of people. You know, that's not the time to decide that. We already decided that. This is not the judgment of God. We're not blaming God for this, okay? Stop blaming God for stuff he never had anything to do with. God is not in control, so every effect is not by his cause. It's not determined by God. There are things that happen, and Satan is the cause. Therefore, Satan is to blame, and Satan is to be confronted, and Satan is to be cast down. Satan is to be defeated. Satan is to be resisted. Satan is to run away. Satan is to be shut up, his mouth closed. Satan is the problem. See, I got air coverage right now here in Jacksonville, Florida. The jet just flew over my house. Yesterday it was an eagle. But today I am telling you, as a warrior, my name's Donald, and that means warrior, and I am a descendant of William Wallace, so I'm ready to get a long sword and cut a swath as like a berserker in battle. But I want to make sure I'm not attacking the wrong people. Now, as leaders, we should address the voice of wolves. The wolves need to be shut down and shut up because they're causing the sheep to continue in pandemic distraction. We are investing a lot of time in comfort when the comfort should be a rather easy thing to administrate. So, you know, get the earbuds in the ears of the sheep, and let's get all the comfort food and all the comfort sounds and all the. I mean, we're experts. This is the greatest generation of providing comfort ever. So comfort those sheep so that they're not the focus. Remember what Jesus said when you have a wanderer: secure the 99. Time to secure them. Get the wanderers back into the sheepfold at risk of your life. But don't put everybody in the sheepfold when it's only made for sheep. And those of us who have been in training and are not sheep, and you can't wait to get out there and get some blood on our hands in this battle, you know, secure those sheep so that we're not wasting our time. Yes, wasting our time in positions where we have to be protecting the sheep. Get them in the sheepfold, secure the sheep. This can be done, will be done by shepherds who are not hirelings, who will then shut the mouths of wolves. Get out there and get your job done, shepherds. Stop those wolves from howling and protect the sheep so the warriors can face a different enemy right now on a global scale, working in a time when God is going to reset the balance of power and economic influence among the nations. God set America up and other fathering nations for this moment in history so that we would come out of this representing God, representing his purposes. And he has an army, and we're a part of it. So it's time now for the warrior cry, for the shofar sound of battle, and it's time for you to get up and get out there in terms of your involved intercession. Choose the right enemies. Focus on the right enemies. Quit chasing down weird conspiracies and comic book kinds of enemies and get real, because we know who the enemy is and we know exactly what we're supposed to do about it. And we have strategies from God. Apply them. That's why we trained. So it's time now for somebody to say, and I'm just going to say it: war, advance, sound the shofar of attack. Let's get on the offensive now in this season and see how God will use us to turn the tide.